And welcome back. Thank you so much for spending some time with us once again here on the Roundtable program. As I said at the top of the show, I want to spend the second part of our show today talking about holiday stress as we get into Christmas and also New Year's and some of the trepidation about some of those things, seeing family, dealing with the economy of 2014. All of those stresses we put on ourselves and how to deal with them. Glad to have Ken Miller and also Stephanie Speck from Harbor Healthcare, or from Harbor, used to be Harbor Healthcare. That's Harbor, right. I'm old school here at 13 ABC, but anyway, from Harbor joining us. Welcome to both of you. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Great.
Thank you for the invitation.
Ken, you bet. Ken, let's start out talking about, it's not a myth. I mean, we all go through this time of the year, do we not?
Absolutely. Every year the stress starts to go up and people get kind of tense and stressed about more. I've got to get a perfect holiday going on. I've got to buy presents. I've got to make sure everybody's happy.
Right.
And they start losing sleep. They might start to stress out about not having enough money to get all those favorite gifts. Yeah. And so people really get stampeded into a lot of stress.
Stephanie, right or wrong? I mean, should people feel like this?
Whether or not they should feel like it,
right.
Sometimes the anticipatory stress can be more overwhelming. Even if you have everything planned out and everything's wrapped, you know, there's that idea of the holiday perfection, that everything has to go perfect when we go to our family gathering. Everything has to be perfect. The meal has to be on time. You don't want things to be too cold or too hot. Right. It has to be just right. So even
those seem so minute, though, you know, to let those just kind of well up in you.
And it seems minute, but if you're overwhelmed with that, what we would call an irrational thought of perfection, and if you're overwhelmed and you start dwelling on that idea of having to have a perfect party, then that anxiety can be overwhelming and very stressful.
We had Dr. Dan Cassavar on our first segment with before you guys came on here, and we were talking about Northwest Ohio and Southeastern Michigan, and we were talking heart health, which heart to the mind, I mean, it all kind of ties in today for our show, but he said, you know, the outlets that we have here in Northwest Ohio are kind of sedentary outlets because you're going out to eat, you're going to the movies, you're not being active. So do you guys see that? If we parlay our first segment into what you guys are talking about, do you see the connection there as well, Ken?
I highly recommend what we call getting out of your head, because we are in a society of all these iPads and all the phones, and people get so psychologically involved in all of that minutia, all those little things, and they kind of drive themselves crazy. The buttons and the bells, and they think that they should, they must, they all respond to every little thing, and in the end they end up feeling like they're being nibbled to death by ducks, is what we call it, being nibbled to death by ducks. And it gets very frustrating and very annoying, even when you're trying to have a talk with someone and their phone is going off, their iPad is going off. And so people get very psychologically centered, and they forget that they've got the rest of their body to take care of. You know, so one of the best things you can do, believe it or not, is take a 5 or 10 minute walk.
Is it a tougher sell, though, trying to get people to be unplugged in this day and age? Because I can tell you from firsthand experience, my kids had a Christmas program earlier this week, and at one point in the theater it was completely dark, except I looked around the room and there was the glow of cell phones everywhere. It was just, it was amazing. It was like being in a plane looking down and seeing the lights on the ground below.
I think the best thing that a person can do is really be intentional. Being intentional with their time, being intentional with their activities. Because you go into this brainless activity on being on your devices or being glued to the TV, but even being intentional when you're going to the movies, be excited about what you're going to see, talk about it, process it, because it all comes back to the relationships that we build. And once you feel like you have that connection or those relationships over the holidays, then that can decrease your stress by just having that positive conversation with somebody.
There are a lot of outlets out there, and we want to point people in the direction of harbor.org, once again, the website for Harbor. And you can also go online and look up holiday stress. I came up with a list that I find from health.com. We wanted to point this out. You guys don't subscribe to Eat Mango per se, and we will show people on our website again that we've pulled up why. Apparently, some Japanese proverb says it's relaxing. But 4 other things in this top list. They say fit and exercise. We heard that with the heart health, and you guys talked about unplugging.
Yes.
Don't overschedule.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Be active when you want to. I think there's this concept that I created, and we really were talking about this. Say yes when you mean it, and say no when you need it. There's times when you really have to say yes to different activities because that's going to be fulfilling for you as a person. But then sometimes you have to say no when you need to say no because it's not going to be helpful to you. It's going to be overwhelming. Yeah. And I learned this new concept even about burnout. That burnout's not about doing too much. It's about doing too much of the wrong thing. And that's really important to keep in mind over the holiday season. Instead of saying, yes, I'll bring 4 dozen cookies. Yes, I'll show up. Yes, I can get the kids dressed for the party. Yes, I can do this.
Right.
But to say yes when you really mean to say yes, when you really mean to do a meaningful activity, and really saying no when you need to say no.
Last two things on that list. Plan a real vacation to try to get away. And the last thing, number 1, think positive.
Yeah. Well, in terms of vacation, even what we teach our therapists is that the longer the vacation you take, the better. And here's why. There are 2 concepts. One is called afterburn, and the other is called reach back.
And you're talking about physically getting away, not just vacation as in checking out.
Correct. But our therapists who deal with very stressed people, 40 hours a week, when it's time for them, they need vacations too. We tell them the longer the vacation, the better, and here's why. What time do most people leave work on Friday? We say 5 o'clock. No, it's actually not until Saturday, 12 noon or 1 o'clock, they're finally psychologically free and they're starting to let go. And what time do they come back to work on Monday? Sunday night at 5 o'clock. So that's why psychologically the weekends go so fast. You can, your colleagues say, where did the weekend go? Physically, you were away for 48 hours. Psychologically, you were only away for 24 hours. That's why it's so crucial then when taking a vacation, it takes a day or 2 just to get ready. Then get your 5, 6, 7, 8 days on the beach. Then there's that whole stress of coming back and decompressing from Florida or the Bahamas or wherever.
If my wife is watching at home, she is saying, see, I told you. Because there are so many times I get up at 2:45 in the morning, and about 3 p.m. on Sundays, without fail, my mood changes. I'm already thinking about the fact that I'm watching the clock. I'm watching the clock, thinking about how my weekend is dwindling away. I wanted to talk a little bit about carryover. Specifically speaking, if 2013 didn't go the way you wanted it to, how do you put, I guess, some hope into 2014 and not get like, it's going to be another 2013.
It comes down to, it seems like what you're saying is the New Year's resolutions.
Almost
similar to that,
where
you're anticipating.
You feel like you didn't succeed somewhere in 2013.
Okay.
Maybe your goals that you had for 2013, it's December whatever, and you're like, I've run out of time. I didn't do this. 2014 is just going to be another year of failure.
It seems like reflecting on those times, what didn't go well, but really looking at what did go well. And what the most important thing is, people are so true to themselves. We're used to, we have our habits. We're hardwired that way to have our habits. So we're hardwired to do things well, and we're hardwired to do things not so well. And so the most important thing that you can do psychologically is really focus on, okay, so maybe 2013 didn't go as well as I wanted it to, but look what I did accomplish. I spent more time with my daughter. I got reacquainted with my sister. I was able to budget some of my money well, and look at those different items and look at those different things on what you did well, and then try to repeat those for the new year. You know, this is what I did well, so this is my plan to continue to do well in 2014. And just, if a person would just make one simple change and make a decision to do just one thing different, it can perpetuate a feeling of success and accomplishment, which is really helpful to overcome some of those negative thoughts or negative ideas or that sense of failure that you're referring to.
Ken, we got about 90 seconds left. How important is it to get family? Sometimes talking about the failures, talking about the stress, you keep it bottled up inside. You don't talk about it. How important is it to get family on board to help you through these tough times?
Well, I mean, there's a variety of things that can be done. You got to choose who you can talk best with. Some are more open to maybe having some frank discussions, but usually you want to keep it on an upswing. What's gone right, good, and well. We don't dwell much on the negatives because that just gets into a lot of defensiveness and blaming and name calling, and it just takes the energy down. So we always ask, what's going right, good, and well? How can we improve our relationship? How can we make this go better? Even mantras such as endless good comes in endless ways. We can have thought conditioners that instead of saying negative things, we can say every day and every way I'm getting better, better, and better. That transforms negatives into positives and positives into possibilities. So by changing our thoughts, we change our feelings, and as we teach in therapy, we change our thoughts, we change our feelings, we can change our behaviors.
Ken Miller, Stephanie Speck from Harvard, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We appreciate it. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
All the good stuff.
You bet. Stay right there. We wrap things up for this Sunday right after this.